Hello, guys. I'm Lila, and I'm only an 18-year-old girl. No, I'm not married, and this is not a story about my mother in law or something. But this is a story about my grandma, Harriet, who was a nightmare mother in law to my mom, Elsie. Why am I telling this story? Because she tried to use me to separate my parents. Harriet is my dad, Gabriel's mother. She is a super psycho woman who has made my mom's life a living hell. She used to live with my parents until my dad was forced to kick her out. I didn't even see her until I was 12. They simply didn't trust her around me. Why? Well, she tried to convince my dad that I wasn't his child, that mom cheated and baby trapped him with someone else's child. When I was a little over 12 years old, I started to become interested in meeting Harriet. She had gotten in contact with me in some way and was pestering me for regular visits. A lot of my friends had good relationships with their grandparents, and I wanted that as well. Mom's parents were long dead, so there was only Harriet left. I begged my parents to have a relationship with Harriet. I said, "Mom, Dad, please let me have a relationship with Grandma. I want to see if we can have a good relationship. Most of my friends have grandparents. I feel left out." "Lila, it's not that easy, dear. Harriet has already hurt us in more ways than one. You already know why we have limited contact with her. You do realize that she tried to take your dad away from me and you." "I know that, Mom. You guys have already told me everything. Look, I know she has been horrible to you, but she has changed. She has even apologized for the incident." "She has only apologized to you, Lila. Mom should have apologized to Elsie first. She still hates your mom, dear. Even after I give her so much money, she insults Elsie and tells me to leave her. I'm afraid she is trying to manipulate you. I don't think you should have a relationship with her." I begged and pleaded with my parents for days. In the end, my mom felt guilty for coming between me and my grandma. Meanwhile, Harriet was pestering Dad and trying to make him feel guilty for keeping me away. So, my parents were kind of forced to let us keep in contact. After that, I used to frequently hang out with her. She was attentive to me, and I felt like I finally knew about my grandparents' love. I did love her too, but still managed to notice some red flags about her. When my mom went to drop me off at Harriet's house, they had a small conversation. I was already inside the house when they talked, but I could very clearly hear their conversations. Mom said, "Harriet, I understand that we have our differences, but let's not make Lila suffer for that. I know that my daughter wants to stay connected to you, so I have allowed this to happen. Please don't do anything to break our trust." "You must be so pissed, Elsie. You can see that I am starting to win. I already took away your daughter. I will take away Gabriel as well. Once I have them both, you will lose. I know you are still planning to send me away from your lives. But hear this out, Harriet. Gabriel will never leave me for you. And we won't let you get off easy if you try to use my daughter against us. We will see just how loyal your daughter will be to you. Time will tell. Consider this a little warning." Saying this, Harriet just closed the door in my mom's face. I was stunned, but kept my mouth shut. I slowly went to the living room and pretended not to hear anything. I didn't speak up, guys. I know it was wrong. I thought Harriet loved me and I didn't want to lose her, so I never told Dad about the conversation, and neither did Mom. Harriet never stopped showing her hatred towards Mom. Grandma used to berate Mom in front of me when I was with her. She always said, "Your mother is a useless woman, Lila. I'm glad you didn't turn out to be like her. She took your dad away from me. I will never forgive her." Grandma, Mom is not like that. Dad still visits you and takes care of you. Mom never stopped him. My son would never abandon me. Your mom has used some dirty tricks to make him stay away, but this time she will pay. I will have my son back. Grandma, I don't like you talking about Mom like that. What happened was between you three. She is a good mom to me, so please don't say these things to me. Harriet never stopped, even after I repeatedly told her to. She continued to demonize my mom and try to make me agree with her. She even said that she and Dad would be very happy without my mom in the picture. For years, I listened to her berate my mom. I was young and dumb and didn't want to lose my grandma, so I never revealed those conversations to anyone. I tried to defend my mom, but was scared that Grandma would hate me. The stupid girl I was, I continued to fawn over my grandma until I was 18. A single incident and it all came crashing down. It would destroy my relationship with Harriet for good. One day, when I was visiting Grandma, I made the mistake of venting about my college education. I was nervous to ask my parents for help, but also dreaded student loans at the same time. I didn't want to stress my parents, so I decided to vent to Grandma instead. I said, Grandma, I will have to apply to college pretty soon. I have no idea how I will manage to arrange the money for my college fund. I'm scared to ask my parents. I hope I land a good scholarship with my grades. You know what, Lila? I'm thinking about paying for your college. Really, Grandma? You would do that for me? But where will you get the money? I have a lot of money saved from your father's allowance. He does send me a lot of money. I'll give you all of it. But you need to do something for me. You have to make Gabriel divorce Elsie. What are you talking about, Grandma? Do you want me to make my parents divorce each other? Are you serious? I am dead serious, girl. If you do it, I will give you money for college, a total of $13,000. All for you. I even have a plan ready. You just have to agree to it. You are going to pay me to make my parents get a divorce? You have to be kidding me. This can't be real. I will give you half of my money right now. You can have the rest later. I just need your word that you will do your best to make it happen. I didn't think she was serious. I mean, it had to be a joke. Honestly speaking, I have heard stories about this happening, but I never thought they could get real. Hell, I didn't think Harriet was capable of it. Boy, was I wrong. Sitting in my account was $65,000 that Harriet sent me the next day. I was dumbstruck by the freaking audacity of Harriet. Right then, I received a call from her. Thankfully, I decided to record the call. She said, "So, I think you have already received the half I promised. I have more, you know. You will get another $65,000 if you agree to my conditions. Once your mother is out of the picture, I will convince Gabriel to give you some more. His money will be my money anyway. That way, we will continue profiting from each other." Fine then, I will do it. But it will be difficult to convince Dad to divorce Mom. He does love her a lot. I know that, girl. Your witch of a mom had the power to take him away from me. I will never forget that. Now we will see who wins. Don't worry. I'll hire someone to play her affair partner. You just have to show Gabriel some screenshots and pictures. Wait, you will hire someone to be my mom's affair partner? She'll never do something wrong. I can guarantee you that. Pictures can be edited, Lila. It won't be very difficult. Money can make people do things. If you don't want to join me, I will think of something else. No, that's fine. I'll do it. You're giving me a lot of money anyway. After that, Harriet told me about her grand plan and revealed everything to me. Her poor health, Yeah, she faked a heart attack. She had been setting this up for months. Harriet had everything lined up down to the fine details. She only needed to reveal the affair and convince Dad to divorce Mom. If I hadn't agreed, I would have never found out about her schemes, so I joined hands with her. But Harriet had no idea what was coming. For weeks, I met with the hired guy to arrange all the details. Harriet was adamant that nothing could go wrong. I was clever enough to take pictures and recordings of all interactions. Harriet didn't know because, well, I do know ways to fool her. I collected all the evidence and went straight to my parents. I sat them down and said, "Mom, Dad, there's something I need to tell you guys. It's about Grandma." "What is it, Lila? Is she sick again? Tell me now. I'm getting worried." "No, Dad, she's not sick. She never actually has been sick. She's faking everything." "What? How can you accuse your grandma of such things? This is ridiculous." "Stop being mad at Lila, Gabriel. Your mother had pulled this shit before. Why are you even surprised? Lila, tell us everything." "She wanted to get back into our lives, so she faked a heart attack. She accepted it herself, and she just paid me a lot of money to make you two get a divorce." My parents looked shocked by what I said. I could see why they were so taken aback by it. I had just dropped 2 nuclear bombs on them. They were silent for a while and looked at each other. Then I went ahead and explained everything to them. I also gave them the proof I had. By the time I was done, both of my parents were super pissed. Mom said, "What the freaking hell? This stupid woman is still after me? After all these years, she has not given up. This is ridiculous. She's out for my reputation and my marriage." I had no idea my mom was capable of this shit. I shouldn't have let her back into our lives. Hell, I took care of her for years, and now she does this to me and Elsie? She had been planning everything for a while, Dad. I couldn't record all of her conversations. You saw the texts and what they said. She's adamant that she wants Mom out of the picture. Gabriel, your mom tried to weaponize my child against me. Harriet is a freaking witch. All these acts of being a loving grandparent were just for show. She only wanted to use me for her plans. I can see that now. I wanted to let you guys know so that she can't create any misunderstanding with or without me. Thank you for telling us, Lila. Don't worry. We won't let her use you against us, and there is no way we're getting a divorce. Whatever Mom has in mind won't work. You don't have to worry about it. My parents told me to act like everything is fine, so I let Harriet transfer me the proof that she had manufactured about my mom's cheating. Dad and Mom looked over everything and made their plans with me. Then we waited for their anniversary to come. Harriet was excited because I told her that Dad was getting ready to file for divorce. I said, "Hey, Grandma, you know what? Your plan worked." I showed Dad all the proof and convinced him to divorce Mom. Dad is talking to a lawyer. He would be serving her papers on their anniversary. He's having a smaller party so that he doesn't spend too much on Mom. Mom doesn't know a thing. Oh my God, that is wonderful news, Lila. I knew keeping you around would be worth it. You are such a good girl. I'll send over the rest of the money today. Good job, kid. Thank you, Grandma. You might want to come and invite some friends to watch the show. It'll be amazing. Dad won't mind having a few of your friends over. Harriet gleefully hung up on me and started to call her friends. She asked Dad if she could invite them, and he said yes. Harriet even sent me the rest of the money later. Me, Mom, and Dad were all pretty surprised by her stupidity. She thought she was clever, but she had no idea who she was up against. We were going to end her drama once and for all. My parents' anniversary was supposed to be a grand celebration. Instead, they opted for a small one this year. I convinced Harriet that Dad planned a small party to save money. She took that as the truth. The truth was that Dad didn't want his entire friend circle to see the drama. Instead, he called our extended family and Harriet's friends, people who needed to know what a snake Harriet was. When everyone arrived, I got everyone's attention to give a speech. I stood up and said, "Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to my parents' anniversary. I'm so happy to have such wonderful parents and thought I should speak some words about them. You know how much parents are still in love? It just makes my heart melt, but there has been someone who has a problem with their love and marriage. As you all know, it's none other than my dear Grandma Harriet." "What are you saying, Lila? Why would you say things like that about your grandma?" Guys, are you wondering why I would say something like that? Well, Harriet here had tried to bribe me into making my dad divorce my mom. Yes, that's completely true. She promised me money for college if I make my dad divorce my mom. She even sent me in advance to lure me into her plans. "Gabriel, look at what your worthless daughter is saying. Guys, this is all her and Elsie's plan. They want me out of your life, so they're using dirty tricks now. You shouldn't believe them." "But I have proof, Harriet. I have both your blood and Mom's. I know exactly how to deal with people who want to take advantage of me." Guys, you would be shocked to see what Grandma had arranged. Do you want to see what it was? Here it is. I quickly started to play our recorded calls quite loudly on the little microphone I got. Yes, the ones that they use for ASMRs. When I played the whole recording, the look on people's faces was glorious. My parents, of course, didn't react because they knew. Meanwhile, Harriet was slowly getting pale and started to sweat. I could see that her hands were shaking. Everyone in the family and even her friends were giving her nasty looks. When the recording ended, she said, "These are all fake. You and Elsie are trying to trap me and ruin my reputation. You two hate me and want me gone. Don't put your wildest dreams on me and my daughter, Harriet. Everything you have said is exactly what you wanted to do to me. We have more proof, including the guy you hired to play my affair partner. You have stooped low, Harriet. Even I am embarrassed for you." "Gabriel, why are you not saying anything? You can't just let your daughter and wife insult me like that. Say something, son, please." "I don't know what to say, Mom. I'm ashamed to call you my mom. For years, I ignored my wife's feelings and kept in touch with you. I took over all your responsibility. And now, this is how you reward me? You can't believe their lies, Gabriel. I know how much you love Elsie. Why would I do this to you?" "Exactly, Mom. You knew how much I love Elsie, but you never wanted her around. You wanted to have sole control over me and my money. You have tried to break us up before. I can't believe you tried to use Lila for your gains. I have done enough for you, but no more. From today onwards, we will go no contact with you, and I am going to stop paying for everything. You can go figure out your life yourself. I'm going to protect my wife and daughter from your toxic behavior." Harriet heard this and started to bawl in front of everyone. No one reached out to help her or comfort her. They didn't want to be near her. Everyone sympathizes with us while criticizing Harriet. Even people on Harriet's side didn't support her. It was glorious, actually. Harriet sobbed and begged for forgiveness while everyone else just ignored her. After a while, Dad told her to get out of our property before he called the police. That made her leave out of fear. We apologized to our guests for making them witness everything. However, they understood our situation and were glad to know how toxic Harriet can be. We later invited them to a bigger party that was happening within a few hours in a different venue. Overall, my parents had a great time, and so did I. Harriet kept blowing up our phones, but we didn't care. Her texts to me ranged from anger at exposing her to begging to make Dad forgive her. I ignored her and went about my way. The real fun happened the next day when Grandma asked for the money back. Harriet said, "Since you've decided to betray me, I have no use for you anymore. Don't even think about coming near my house again." Don't worry, Harriet. In this life, I will never make the stupid decision of being around you again. You don't have to worry about that. And I want my money back. I don't care how you go to college. You are no one to me. You need to give me back the money I sent. What money? What you gave me was a gift. I already gave it away to charity. I did that the very next day. As for my college, my parents already have a fund saved for me. You lied to me to make me do your dirty work. I know the truth now. What the hell? I will sue you for the money. Just wait and watch. Sure, Harriet. I would love to see how you win this case. This will be hilarious. Go ahead and do your best. But remember, Dad won't be supporting you financially anymore. You better check your finances before hiring a lawyer. Harriet started to call me some colorful names before I hung up on her. She kept calling me, but I blocked her number. Harriet tried her best to make Dad speak to her again. She refused to apologize for her behavior and only acted in an entitled way. So my dad and Mom blocked her as well. Dad was adamant about not supporting Harriet anymore. Surprisingly, even the extended family understood the situation and agreed with his decision. Harriet did show up to the house to scream at Mom and me, but Dad called the police on her, who came and warned her away. Now, Harriet was forced to move near her older sister, who was making her work at a grocery store. The sister gives us information about her because she is on our side. Meanwhile, my parents are finally living a peaceful life without the constant fights about Harriet. I have got accepted into a great university on a full scholarship. Life is good, and I can tell everyone the hilarious story about my grandma. Hey there, everyone. Grab a tissue or two because the story I'm about to share is a real tearjerker. I'm Sophie, 25, female, and I feel like it's time for me to share what happened to me. I apologize in advance if this story is too depressing, but it's so crazy that I had to share it. I'm still reeling from it myself, to be honest. So let's dive in, shall we? Picture this. I was 18 and head over heels in love with my high school sweetheart, Ethan. Yeah, I know, people said we were too young, but that didn't stop us. We tied the knot and thought we had it all figured out. Fast forward a few years and there we were, living our lives as a married couple, doing all the couple of things. Things were great, and I knew that I could accomplish anything with my ride or die right by my side. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you. One day, out of the blue, Ethan was gone. A car accident took him away from me, from his family, from everyone who loved him. It hit me like a freight train, the news, the grief, the overwhelming feeling that I was suddenly alone. For a while, I was lost in a sea of sadness. My days were dark and it felt like a heavy cloud was hanging over me, making it hard to breathe. Ethan had been my rock, my everything, and now he was gone. The funeral was beautiful. All of us were brought closer by the whole ordeal. The coroner said that his body was so damaged and burnt up that they had to cremate him. Each of us, me, my sister-in-law, and mother-in-law, as well as other family members, got the chance to get a little piece of Ethan with us. I decided to put him into a necklace that I'd never take off so that he'd be close to me in some way. About a month after his passing, I found myself in bed, a mess of tears and memories. It was one of those moments when the weight of the world was just too much to bear. This was the norm. I even quit my job because nothing felt worth living anymore. So yeah, one day I was in bed wallowing, as was custom. And then, like a lightning bolt, my phone started buzzing like crazy. I glanced at the caller ID and there it was. Linda, my sister-in-law. "Hello? Come and open the door, I'm here." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Here I was, a mess of emotions, and Linda's angry voice was the last thing I expected. I dragged myself out of bed, wiped my tears, and stumbled to the front door. There she was, arms crossed, looking like she meant business. "Linda, what's going on?" "Look, Sophie, I know he's here somewhere. I don't know why he would do this to us, but I know he's here." So there I was, staring at Linda in utter confusion and disbelief. I thought for a moment that maybe the grief had gotten to her, that maybe she had lost her marbles. "Linda, you can't seriously think that Ethan is here, right? He's gone, you know this. Come and sit, let's talk about this." But Linda was adamant, like a detective on a mission. She looked me in the eye and said she didn't know what to believe anymore. So I sighed, asked her to sit down again, and attempted to make her understand that Ethan was no longer with us, that he was really truly gone. "Linda, it's been a month. Ethan passed away and we have to accept that. I don't know what you're accusing me of, but I can't play along with this. Grief can mess with our heads, I know that, but we can't let it make us imagine crazy things. We can't let it take control." Linda's voice cracked as she spoke, and for a moment, I saw a vulnerability in her eyes that I hadn't expected. "Sophie, don't talk to me like I'm a crazy person. I know what I saw, and I swear to God, if you two thought that this was some funny prank you could pull on us, then you've got another thing coming." "Linda, I don't know what you're saying. Please explain." "I saw him, Sophie. I saw him at that cafe on 5th Street. It was him. I know it was him. Don't believe me? Let me prove it to you. I took a picture." I felt a chill run down my spine. She pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. A picture that shouldn't exist. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me again. Grief can make us do crazy things, but that wasn't it. This felt too real. Then I thought that it was a doppelganger. People can look like other people, right? But the similarities were too uncanny. I then concluded that that was indeed Ethan, wearing a hoodie, sitting in a cafe. My heart pounded as I looked at the date of the photo. Just 2 days ago. What? What is this? How is this even possible? It was like I had seen a ghost. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. And then reality came crashing back and I realized Linda didn't mean to accuse me. She genuinely thought she had seen Ethan alive and well. "Sophie, I'm sorry. I really thought that you knew that he was still alive. I actually thought that you helped him fake his death." She was on the verge of tears, and I found myself struggling to hold it together too. Linda explained how she had seen Ethan through the cafe window, snapped the picture, and sent it to our family group chat. Everyone denied knowing anything about Ethan faking his death except me. I hadn't responded. She thought I was in on it, that I was helping Ethan live this lie. "Linda, I swear I had no idea. I thought he was gone. Please tell me everything you know, and I'm sorry for not responding. I haven't responded to messages in a month, Linda, I swear to you. I had no idea about this. I would never do something like this. Tell me everything now." There I was, huddled with Linda, trying to make sense of it all. Linda explained that all she knew was that she had seen Ethan in that cafe, sent the picture to our family chat, and asked if he was pulling some bizarre prank. But now, with what Linda had just revealed, it meant that nobody knew about this. Ethan had lied to everyone. Why would he do something like this? As we clung to each other, tears streaming down our faces, a mixture of sadness and anger began to swell within us. We were left wondering what on earth could drive Ethan to concoct such a stupid ruse. I thought I was losing my mind. I wanted to approach him, but I was scared. That's why I took the picture so others could see what I was seeing, so that I could know for sure that I wasn't just imagining things. At that moment, our shared sadness shifted into something else, a fiery rage that we couldn't suppress. We tossed around speculations like a game of emotional ping pong. Sure, Ethan had been a prankster and had a knack for getting on people's nerves to mess with them, but this was a new low, and we were left grappling with the weight of his actions. I can't believe he would put us through this. What could he possibly have gained from making us think he was dead? Linda's voice trembled as she spoke, her anger mirroring my own, and then, amid our confusion and fury, it hit us like a bolt of lightning. We were way out of our depths here. We couldn't just unravel this on our own. We needed help, professional help. Linda, we can't do this alone. We need to find out the truth, and that means we need to get a private investigator involved. Linda's eyes met mine, and in that gaze we shared a newfound determination. We were going to dig deep, uncover the layers of deception, and finally get the answers we deserved. The roller coaster had taken a wild twist, hurtling us towards a truth that was more complex and shocking than we could have ever anticipated. And, well, we were ready to face whatever lay ahead, with a little help, of course. So, with our newfound determination and Linda's connections, we managed to get ourselves a top-notch private investigator, the real deal. Honestly, if this story were a movie, this is probably where the music would start getting suspenseful. Weeks rolled by and we were getting antsy. I'd received sporadic updates from Linda, but for about 2 weeks, it felt like we were stuck in limbo. I was itching for some resolution, some answers. And then, finally, the private investigator called Linda with a big break. Turns out, Ethan wasn't just chilling somewhere twiddling his thumbs. No, he had gone the whole 9 yards, adopting a new name, let's call him Alex, a new passport, and an entirely new identity. Yeah, we're talking witness protection level stuff. The private investigator managed to get more pictures, and sure enough, it was Ethan, albeit with dyed hair and a clean-shaven face. The disguise might have fooled a casual passerby, but not us, not the people who loved him. Linda and I convened with the family and spilled the tea on what we'd been discovering. The collective reaction was something straight out of a soap opera, you know. The dramatic gasps and raised eyebrows, it was like we were all characters in some wild movie plot. But this was no movie, it was real life, and we needed answers. The PI didn't stop there. He was relentless, trying to uncover the motives behind Ethan's fake death and his new identity. It was like peeling back layers of an onion, and each discovery just led to more questions. And then another breakthrough. The PI reported that Alex, had a hangout spot, a lounge he'd frequent during the week. He seemed harmless, not engaging in any dangerous activities, so the PI reassured us that it was safe to approach him. We were on guard, trust me, 911 on speed dial and everything. Linda and I put our heads together, making a plan to finally confront Ethan, Alex, and get to the bottom of this mess. We had so many questions, and we were hoping against hope that our crazy theory was wrong, that we were somehow mistaken about everything. But at the same time, there was an undeniable thrill coursing through our veins. It was time to face the ghost that had returned from the dead. And well, let's just say we were as ready as could be. So there we were, Linda and I, stepping into that lounge like we were two characters from some suspense movie. We scanned the place, and there he was, lurking in the shadows, nursing a sad-looking bear. Ethan, Alex, was cornered, and he knew it. Those widened eyes spoke volumes as he realized who was confronting him. Two very pissed-off women who needed explanations pronto. The moment, Ethan stammered, "I can explain." Linda's hand met his face in a satisfying slap. Thankfully, there weren't many patrons around, and this lounge looked pretty seedy anyway, so we weren't drawing much attention. He blinked in surprise and regained his composure enough to mutter, "I guess I deserved that." But let me tell you, any composure we were trying to maintain evaporated into thin air as Linda and I unleashed a verbal assault. We didn't hold back, demanding to know just what the heck he thought he was doing. Honestly, the situation was so absurd, it felt like we were living in a sitcom, except nobody was laughing. Then came the sobbing. Ethan's defenses crumbled, and he confessed that he dug himself into a hole so deep he wasn't sure how he would get out. He messed up and he knew it. I could hardly believe my ears as he spilled the beans. He'd been having an affair with some valley girl named Stacy. You know the type, partying hard, doing drugs, hitting up underground fight clubs. The whole shebang. Things escalated real fast when Stacy turned up pregnant. Ethan tried to bail, but this girl, Stacy, was no pushover. She had a billionaire daddy who would kill for her, so he wasn't exactly the warm and fuzzy type. She threatened to make Ethan's life a living hell if he didn't play nice and build a nice life with her because she wanted to be wifed up. Just when I thought the crazy train had reached its final stop, Ethan hit us with the grand finale. He looked at me, guilt plastered all over his face, and mumbled out an apology. He explained that he was sorry, not just for the affair, but for faking his own death and dragging me into this chaotic mess. I was stunned, furious and heartbroken all at once. It's like I couldn't process the whirlwind of emotions that hit me. And then, without even thinking, my fist met his cheek, and the sound echoed through the lounge. It was the punch heard round the world, or at least around that lounge. And in that moment, I wasn't sure whether to scream, cry, or storm out of there. All I knew was that this crazy saga was far from over. So there we were, facing Ethan, or Alex, or whatever he wanted to call himself now. I could hardly wrap my head around the mess he dragged us all into. Linda's eyes bored into him, and she finally asked a million-dollar question. "Are you serious, Ethan?" He looked back at her with a mixture of guilt and desperation, and all he could manage to say was, "They're gonna chop off my jewels, Lynn. I had to run away, and I couldn't put you guys in danger. That's why I'm laying low. That's why I faked my death so that you could all be rid of me and my stupidity. I knew you'd all do just fine without me." "That's not your call to make, Ethan. We loved you. We mourned you. And you did this to us? Tell me why I shouldn't kill you myself. Please, you have to understand. How did you even come up with the money to accomplish all of this? To make it seem so real?" Reality sunk in as he began to explain how he'd managed to orchestrate this entire insane charade. He spilled the beans, revealing that Stacy was somewhat of a sugar mama to him, and so she'd give him insane amounts of cash, which he used to fund his little disappearing act. The car wreck, the stories in the news, even the coroner's report, all of it was staged. And then he'd used the money to create a whole new identity for himself. I couldn't help but ask, "Why stick around in the city if you knew you were in danger? Why not flee to another country? Or something?" Ethan sighed, a mix of frustration and resignation on his face. He explained that the plan had been to meet up with the guy who was supposed to help him escape the country, right here in this very lounge, but the guy hadn't shown up yet. According to Ethan, this connect didn't do phones to avoid exposure. He told Ethan to show up at the bar every night for a week, and he'd eventually make an appearance. I scoffed at his explanation. And what if this guy never shows up? What if you get caught and you get your precious jewels chopped off like you said? Ethan just shook his head, his eyes welling up with tears again. I'm so sorry, Sophie. Please, you have to believe me. I messed up big time, but I never wanted any of this. I'll be waiting for you in the car, Sophie. I can't do this anymore. Linda, please, I know you're upset, but please understand where I'm coming from. How about we rewind to last month when you were dead? Because there's no way that I'm going to accept you now. You're dead to me, Ethan. I hope that they catch you. She just got up and walked away. Ethan called out after her, his voice desperate, but she left him there with me. As for me, I wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily. I still had questions burning in my mind, so I looked him dead in the eyes and asked, "Why did you cheat on me, Ethan?" He looked down at his hands, tears falling onto the table as he tried to find the words. It was a messy mix of apologies, guilt, and regret. He didn't have a good excuse, just admitted that he was weak and got caught up in something he should never have let happen. At that moment, as I stared at the man I'd once called my husband, I realized that the story was far from over. The mess he'd created was bigger than any of us could have imagined, and the web of lies and deception was unraveling in ways I could hardly comprehend. Walking out of that bar, leaving Ethan behind with his tears and his guilt, I was so furious that I could barely see straight. The anger churned within me like a storm that threatened to consume everything. I got back to the car, slammed the door shut, and gripped the steering wheel so tight. My knuckles turned white. I muttered to myself, "He's going to pay for this. He's going to regret the day he ever cheated on me." And so, with that determination fueling my actions, I did the unthinkable. The next day, I tipped off the tabloids about the entire insane situation, how my supposedly dead husband had faked his own death just to escape the consequences of his actions, as well as providing them with pictures from the PI. The story spread like wildfire through the city. After all, it's not every day that you hear about someone faking their own death, especially not for something so absurd as evading a cheating scandal. I didn't hold back. I laid it all out there for the world to see, how I had been the loving and devoted wife, only to discover that my husband had played me like a fool. The tabloids ate it up, and soon the entire city was buzzing about the tale of the man who faked his own death. With the help of the PI, Ethan's secrets unraveled faster than he could ever imagine. It turned out that his grand plan was crumbling because his connect wanted nothing to do with him once his wife had blown his cover. And just like that, Ethan went from being a man who faked his death to avoid consequences to a man who was publicly exposed for his lies and deceit. Ethan's world quickly crumbled around him. He became a social outcast, shunned by his family and friends, his reputation in tatters. It seemed like justice was served. But then, just as suddenly as he'd reappeared into our lives, Ethan vanished once again. This time it felt more permanent, like he'd been swallowed up by the very lie he'd created. Rumors swirled, but it seemed like his past had finally caught up to him, this time in a way that even he couldn't escape. Linda and I were left wondering about his fate, whether he was even alive or not, whether he was finally facing the consequences he tried so hard to evade. I mean, when you mess with billionaires, anything can happen. Maybe they had him locked in a dungeon somewhere, jewels missing so that he could never escape again. In the end, all I could feel was a strange sense of relief. I had exposed the truth, no matter how messy or unbelievable it was. And for that, I was grateful because it meant I could restart my life without any drama and mess. I'm Paulina and I'm 28 years old, and boy, oh boy, do I have a story for you guys. This is the type of story that's going to make you laugh, cringe, and maybe even shake your head in disbelief. So there's me, Paulina, ready to spill the beans on how I went from 2 failed marriages to finding true love with my man, Sean. I'm talking about the real deal here. Sean got me in a way that no one ever did. He was like the missing puzzle piece that suddenly made my life make sense. It was like all those rom-com cliches had come to life, and I was loving every minute of it. But of course, there's always a little drama in the mix, right? Enter Sean's twin sister, Hannah. Now, let me tell you, she's a whole different story. Bitter, attention-seeking, and just downright annoying. I mean, the girl practically had drama queen tattooed on her forehead. Wedding preparations were in full swing, and guess who decided to insert herself right into the chaos? You got it, Hannah. Suddenly, she was an expert on flowers, venues, and cake flavors. Like, girl, calm down, you're not the bride here. Sean, bless his heart, would tell me to just let it slide and let her have her moments because she was excited. But man, oh man, there was only so much I could take. Picture this, a cake tasting. Me, Sean, Hannah, and her boyfriend Bjorn. Please don't ask me why we agreed to bring them along with us. We're all sitting there ready to sample some sweet goodness. And then it happened. Hannah started with her suggestions on which flavor would be the best. I don't know if it was the stress or the sugar high, but I lost it. Right there in front of everyone. Sean, Hannah, Bjorn, they all got a front row seat to me snapping like a rubber band. I told Hannah how it was, how this was my wedding, not hers. I may or may not have used a few choice words in the process. You know, Paulina, I really like the raspberry filling. I think it would go so well with the vanilla sponge. You two should do this. Oh, really, Hannah? Because I was thinking the complete opposite. Come on, guys, can we not turn this into a debate? Well, I just thought since I have a good eye for these things, Hannah, for the love of all things sweet, this is my wedding, not yours. Can you for 1 second let me make decisions about my own day? Paulina, calm down. Let's not make a scene. No, Sean, this needs to be said. Hannah, I get it. You want to be involved, but this isn't your wedding, it's mine. And I've had enough of you acting like you're the one getting married. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm tired of your constant suggestions, your opinions, and your need to make everything about you. This is my moment, my day, and I won't let you take that away from me. Okay, let's all take a breather here. No, Sean, this has to be said. Hannah, I respect you're his sister, but that doesn't give you the right to overshadow me and my choices. So do us all a favor and back off. I was just trying to help. Help? No, you're trying to control everything. But guess what? This isn't your show. So either you respect that or you leave. Maybe we should go. Yeah, I think that's best. Goodbye. Hannah turned 50 shades of red, and Bjorn looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. And that's how it went down, folks. I laid it all out there and told Hannah what was what. Sometimes you've got to put people in their place, especially when they're trying to hijack your big day. All right, buckle up, folks, because this story is far from over. So after the whole cake tasting showdown, Sean and I finally got home. But you know what? Sean wasn't exactly thrilled about how I had lost my cool back there. Babe, I get that Hannah was being annoying, but yelling like that in front of everyone? You're better than that. Sean, she needed someone to put her in her place. If you had stood up for me earlier, maybe it wouldn't have come to this. Yeah, you heard that right. I was standing my ground, unapologetic for finally telling Hannah off. And honestly, she had it coming. You can only deal with someone's drama for so long before you explode like a shaken soda can. She was asking for it at that point. A few more weeks rolled by and peace had finally returned to our lives. Hannah wasn't around to insert her opinions into every little thing, and I was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, my perfect wedding was actually going to happen. But, and oh boy, isn't there always a but in these stories, I received a text from Hannah. At first, I thought maybe she was apologizing or trying to make amends. But oh no, it was something else entirely. She texted, "I don't want you anywhere near the wedding, okay? I'm planning on proposing to Bjorn and I don't need you ruining things. I don't care that you're Eric's real dad. Just leave me alone." Confused doesn't even begin to cover what I was feeling. Like what? Proposing Eric's real dad? Did she send this to the wrong person? Instead of replying right away, I did what any sane person would do. I screenshotted that message and put my phone away. You see, sometimes silence is the best response. And this was a whole new level of Hannah's drama. And honestly, I wasn't about to dive headfirst into it. Nope. I was going to sit back, let the confusion simmer, and watch from the sidelines. But she did say one thing that made my ears perk up. Propose at the wedding? Certainly, she didn't mean my wedding, because I would go ballistic. I don't know about y'all, but nothing grinds my gears more than people proposing at other people's weddings. Like, have you no shame? That is someone else's special day and you want to take advantage of all the glitz and the glam to propose and take the attention away from the couple? Some people need some serious therapy. I was growing angry as I was trying to connect the dots, and what I concluded was that this person who Hannah originally wanted to text was in fact her son's biological father. This is crazy to think about because this entire time we all believed it was Bjorn who was the father of her baby. Eric. Chile, the tea. Anyway, I kept this to myself. I probably should have told Sean about it, but I knew that he would want to take the high road and gather everyone for some kumbaya. Me, on the other hand, I was feeling a little petty, a little violent, if you will. And if this heifer thought that she could get away with proposing at my wedding, then she got another thing coming. But I had to find out some more information. I had to know who she was talking to. So I decided to meet up with her. All right, hang on tight because we're about to dive into the next chapter of this roller coaster ride. So there I was, plotting my next move after receiving that cryptic text from Hannah about proposing to Bjorn and telling me to stay away from the wedding. And trust me, I had a trick up my sleeve. I decided to meet up with Hannah too. Well, fake apologies for my little outburst at the cake tasting. You should have seen her face light up when I suggested it. She was probably thinking she had won or something. But little did she know I was playing chess, not checkers. While Hannah was off to use the restroom, I seized the opportunity. Yep, you guessed it. I sneaked a peek at her phone. I had a feeling that there was more to her story, and I was ready to uncover it. My heart was racing, my hands were shaky, but I had to do it. I needed answers. First things first, I searched for the name Eric, and there it was, a chat between her and me, where she sent text that she still hadn't deleted. Honestly, it's like she wanted to get caught. But right beneath it was another chat. Paul. Bingo. I had found a new lead. I quickly opened the chat. Scanning through the messages, there was a lot of talk about Eric, but I couldn't focus on it properly. I was too afraid that Hannah might return and catch me in the act. So, what did I do? I took a screenshot of Paul's number and put Hannah's phone back exactly where I found it. Mission accomplished. Now, I could investigate this Paul guy on my own terms. Hannah returned, and I had to keep on the fake smile I plastered on for her. It felt like this was lasting forever, but finally it was over. After Hannah got her fake reassurance, we parted ways and went to our respective homes. Once I was safe and sound, I grabbed my own phone and dialed the number. The suspense was killing me, and I needed to know what was going on. Who was this Paul? And what was his connection to Hannah? My heart was pounding as I waited for him to answer. After snagging Paul's number from Hannah's phone, I decided it was time to make the call. I was home alone, surrounded by silence and a whole lot of suspense. My fingers dialed the digits and my heart was pounding like a drum. Hello, is this Paul? Yeah, who's this? With a deep breath, I launched into the heart of the matter. I asked him if he knew Hannah and Eric, and what he revealed had my jaw on the floor. Paul, the guy on the other end of the line, was Hannah's ex and Eric's father. Yeah, you heard me right. The plot was thicker than a Shakespearean drama, confirming my suspicions. Wait, so you're Eric's dad? Yeah, that's right. Why do you ask? Well, I'm Paulina and I'm with Sean. Hannah's my sister-in-law. The pieces started falling into place, and as I connected the dots, I realized what had happened. Hannah had meant to text Paul, not me. And in her haste or confusion, she had sent that text about wanting Paul nowhere near the wedding and denying him as Eric's real dad to me instead. Talk about a text message mix-up of epic proportions. I took a deep breath and shared the text message with Paul. Let me tell you, he was not happy. He was upset that Hannah had stooped so low as to deny him as Eric's real dad. But that wasn't all. He dropped a bombshell. He was still in love with her. Even after everything, he still had feelings for the woman who had caused so much confusion and chaos. Oh my God, this all makes sense now. Our names are so similar. Paulina and Paul. Yeah, I can see how that could happen. We've been fighting recently because I wanted to get back with her, but she's been denying me, talking big about this Bjorn guy who she's apparently in love with. I get not wanting to get back together, but lying about paternity? She's crazy. I don't even know how you had a baby with her. What can I say? Love can make you do stupid things. So now you think she's going to propose at your wedding, right? Unless there's another upcoming wedding she's referring to, I believe she's going to do it at mine, yes. Paul was cursing on the other line, frustrated no doubt. This was a lot to handle. I'm sorry you're dealing with all this, Paul. Yeah, it's a mess. After my little chat with Paul, I had a plan. A plan that involved turning the tables on Hannah and making her sweat for a change. Revenge, you say? Oh yeah, revenge never tasted so sweet. So instead of outright confronting Hannah with the news of my discovery, I decided to play it cool. Oh, but it wasn't just any cool, it was the calm before the storm. I told Paul that we would act like we knew nothing, that our revenge would be much sweeter if we stuck to the plan we were concocting. Let's play this smart, Paul. We're not giving her the satisfaction yet. I'm all in, Paulina. Let's make her squirm. After some more scheming and a bit of laughter, we hung up. Little did Hannah know that she had just activated her own downfall. Fast forward a month and it was the big day, the wedding day. Sean and I were all smiles after the ceremony, celebrating with friends and family. Everything was picture perfect, and even the weather was cooperating. I excused myself to freshen up during the reception, waiting patiently for the plan to fall into place, and sure enough, who should come waltzing in wearing that wicked grin of hers? None other than Hannah herself.
Oh, Paulina, how's the newlywed life treating you? Oh, just enjoying every moment. Well, I've got something up my sleeve too. Here it was, the moment of truth. Hannah was about to drop her bomb, and she was convinced that I would crumble. But you know what? Revenge had made me stronger, and I was ready. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to propose to Bjorn, and guess what, Paulina? There's absolutely nothing you can do to stop me. I'm going to steal your moment and embarrass you the same way you embarrass me. Oh, honey, are you still upset that I put you in your place? Put me in my place? You think I'm some kid or something? I almost wanted to call it off. But now that you've said that, I'm going to propose and steal your thunder. Surprise, surprise, I didn't flinch. Instead, I let out a little chuckle that seemed to infuriate her even more. Revenge was sweet, but revenge with a side of calm. Now that was a whole new level. Well, Hannah, I'm truly impressed by your determination. Go ahead, do your thing. And just like that, she was left baffled, her wicked grin faltering as I brushed her off. She stuttered something about how embarrassed I would be, but I just waved her off as she stormed out of the room. Once she left, I called Paul and told him that the plan was a go and it was time to shine. After that cunning conversation with Paul and my oh-so-satisfying exchange with Hannah, it was time to put my plan into action, and let me tell you, I was ready to bring the house down. Leaving the room, I took a deep breath and headed back to the scene. Hannah had everyone's attention. She was up to something and she was about to make her big announcement. But there was one little thing she hadn't counted on: the storm that was about to hit. Excuse me, everyone. Can I have your attention? I caught her eyes, and my own smirk was a mirror of hers. But before she could dive into her speech about love and commitment, the doors burst open, causing a stir of commotion. Who else but Paul, storming into the hall like a tempest. Hannah, we need to talk. In a matter of seconds, the room was buzzing with whispers and hushed conversations, everyone wondering what in the world was going on. Hannah's confident facade faltered as her face paled, clearly caught off guard by Paul's unexpected entrance. Desperate to regain control of the situation, Hannah attempted to divert the attention from the disturbance. She started spouting nonsense about the weather and some random anecdotes, but it was clear she was grasping at straws. As Hannah stammered through her attempt at damage control, I took my chance. With a determined stride, I marched up to her and snatched the microphone right out of her hand. The room fell silent, and all eyes were on me. Thank you, Hannah. It's always great to hear your interesting stories. I saw confusion in Sean's eyes, Bjorn's eyes, and even in the eyes of everyone else in the room. This was it, the moment of truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're all curious about what's happening. Hannah was about to propose to her baby daddy, Bjorn, which is all well and good, and I'm so sorry for spoiling the moment, Bjorn, but I think it's important for everyone to know the truth. A hushed tension filled the room, and you could practically feel the collective curiosity of every single person there. The tension in the room was thicker than a stack of pancakes, and the spotlight was shining brightly on Hannah. Revenge was about to bring the truth to light, and oh boy, it was a sight to behold. Paul strode up to the stage, a force to be reckoned with, and he had the receipts to prove it. With a triumphant grin, he held up a stack of papers, paternity test results, and documents of child support payments showcasing that he was Eric's real dad. The room was so still you could hear a pin drop, and everyone's eyes were glued to the evidence in Paul's hands. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you as Eric's real father. And I wanted y'all to know that Hannah is one of the most despicable, conniving women I've ever met. To Bjorn. Bro, I don't really know you, but Paulina and I thought it was best if you knew the truth before getting tied down to her, because I guarantee you, it's gonna be hell. The gasps and whispers rippled through the crowd, and the shock was palpable. Hannah's face turned white as a sheet, and her eyes were wide with panic. She tried to snatch the microphone from Paul, but he held his ground. "Don't listen to any of this, he's lying!" But the room wasn't buying it. Paulina and I had the stage now, and it was time to lay it all out on the table. I took a deep breath and addressed the room. "Hannah, looks like you got a lot of explaining to do." The crowd leaned in, hanging on to every word. Revenge was about to serve up its main course, the unvarnished truth. You see, we found out about Paul and his connection to Eric through an unexpected text message. I'd like to read that text for all of you. I revealed my phone and read out Hannah's text message, the one where she denied Paul's role as Eric's father and talked about her plan to propose to Bjorn. Oh boy, her face turned the brightest shade of red, and the realization of her own blunder hit her like a ton of bricks. The room erupted into a chorus of boos, hisses, and murmurs. The jig was up, and Hannah was exposed for the schemer she was. She crumbled before our eyes, tears streaming down her face as she finally faced the consequences of her actions. Meanwhile, Bjorn didn't utter a word. He simply turned on his heel and left the event, his anger and disappointment evident in every step. And as for Sean, well, he let loose a torrent of shouted accusations at Hannah for all her lies and deception, calling her down from the stage and giving her a verbal ear beating. As the truth came crashing down, me and Paul shared a knowing look. Revenge had done its job, and Hannah's carefully constructed facade had crumbled to pieces. The entitlement, the attitude, it all fell away, leaving behind a woman who was finally facing the consequences of her actions. Hannah kept on looking at me with a look of pure disdain as Sean was shouting. The MC tried to do damage control by letting the guests return to their seats and get some more food. I blew a kiss and winked at Hannah, letting her know that she could never try and upstage me. One thing about me is that when people go low, I go even lower, all the way to hell. And that girl learned not to play with me that day, I'll tell you that. Turns out I had the perfect wedding after all. I married my husband, and I got some good entertainment too. Hello guys, I'm Riley, and I'm here with the story of my cheating husband. I'm sure you have heard numerous stories about cheating partners, but have you heard about one where the man used his own father's disease to hide his affair? Well, my husband Benji decided to do just that. Benji and I were together for 3 years before we got married. I was fresh out of college and working a great job. We met through his father, Nick, who was my professor in college. He was also my dad's best friend and loved me like his own child. I had never met Benji before because we lived in different states before college. After we met, we clicked right away. He was a funny and charming man who would impress absolutely anyone. We started to date, and after 3 years, he proposed to me. Trust me, guys, he gave all the green flags he could before we got engaged. However, after we got engaged, a problem came knocking on our doorstep. It was his best friend, Sonia. She came into my house and started to scream at Benji. "How dare you get engaged to someone else without telling me? I wasn't here for 3 years and you decided to get engaged within this time?" "Sonia, calm down. I wanted to tell you about us, but you rarely visited here. You didn't even tell me that you were coming back for good. I got to know that today. You have no right to attack me for not telling you. You were the one who hid this relationship from me. I will never forgive you for this." I was pretty confused and alarmed by the interaction. Yes, I had heard about Sonia before, but I never saw her in person. She was living in a different state with her dad before coming back here for good. I always looked forward to meeting her, but what happened that day made me very uncomfortable. Benji tried his best to calm her down and then sent her home. After she left, I said, "Why did she react that way, Benji? Her reaction was completely over the top. Why didn't you tell her about our relationship before? I thought she was your best friend." "She is my best friend, Riley. That's exactly why she's so pissed. She can be a little territorial about me, so I didn't have the courage to tell her. Don't worry, she'll come around." "I don't know, Benji. I have a weird feeling about this. I really don't know what to think about her reaction." My doubts were actually right. I wish I knew that back then. Benji handled everything and didn't let me see that side of Sonia again. However, Sonia did send me some offensive texts saying I was a witch and that Benji would always be hers. Her texts were highly insulting and I showed them to Benji. He talked to her again and made her stop. Fast forward 2 years, Benji and I finally got married. We had a pretty good marriage, but Sonia was always an issue between us. She was still unemployed and Benji was helping her out with money. He didn't earn much himself, so I had to add more to my share of household expenses. I argued with Benji about this, but he refused to stop helping his best friend in need. Yes, I was that stupid. My stupidity came to an end when I discovered hotel and flight bookings for the two of them. I was checking our joint account and found those purchases. I was shocked and decided to snoop a little on Benji's Facebook, which I had access to. Lo and behold, he was cheating on me with her. I was hysterical and broke down in tears. Benji was not around when this happened. When I texted him to know where he was, he replied that he had to take his father to the hospital. Since the dates on the tickets were the dates for that day, I immediately became suspicious. I called Nick to ask him where he was. He was at home, of course, so I got into my car and drove to his place one town over. When I arrived, he said, "Hey, Riley, what's up? Why are you here so late? Is something wrong?" "Nick, I don't know how to say this. Benji's cheating on me with Sonia." "What? No, that can't be true. I trust my son. He knows how horrible it is to cheat on someone. He loves you and would never do that to you." "I can show you that he has cheated on me, Nick. I have all the proof. You have to believe me. He used your disease as an excuse to hide his affair. He said you got sick again and he had to take you to the hospital." "If what you're saying is true, I will freaking disown him. That's a deal. I won't tolerate him cheating on you, but it's hard for me to believe that my son had done this and used me as an excuse." I showed Nick all the proof I had. He was stunned to see everything. Even then, he thought that there must be some misunderstanding on my part. There had to be some explanation other than cheating. Seeing that Nick was having a hard time believing me, I called Benji and put him on loudspeaker. I said, "Benji, where are you? It's late and you're still not home. I'm getting worried." "I'm at the hospital with my dad. He had a health scare out of the blue. I came here as soon as possible." "Oh my God, Benji, is he okay? Should I come down to the hospital?" "The doctors are checking him, but it will take some time. You don't have to wait for me. I think Dad will be staying here for the night for observation. I'll be here tonight and come home tomorrow after I drop him off at the house." "Oh, so the doctors told Nick to stay there overnight? Okay then. I will just drop by and visit him. I can even bring you something to eat." No, that won't be necessary, Riley. The hospital staff don't want too many people in the room. I'm staying here, so that's enough. You can visit him later. He needs time to recover. It's quite late, so I don't want you driving in the dark." "Okay then, so I take it that you will be home tomorrow?" "I don't know, Riley. I might have to stay back if he gets admitted for a few days. I'll call you back tomorrow and inform you. I'll just hang up now. The nurses don't like it when I talk on the phone for too long." Before I could get any more information about him, he hung up on me. I should have predicted that this would happen. Nick was furious at Benji, which was evident from his face. I sighed at what Benji said because at that point, I was just tired instead of being angry. I was exhausted and wanted to get out of this marriage. I said, "There, Nick, I'm sure you believe me now. He has been using you as an excuse to go see his mistress. I know Sonia is also in there with him. As I showed you, they both have their names on the tickets and hotel." You have no idea how pissed off I am right now. As if cheating on you wasn't bad enough? He used my health as an excuse to stay with his affair partner? Nick is disgusting and shameless. I can't believe I have a son like this. I don't know what you plan to do with him, but I'm done. I will be filing for divorce. I'm sorry, Nick, but this is it. I refuse to be used by Benji so that he can go have fun with his mistress. I won't hold you up to the deal. He's your son, and I would understand if you forgive him. Absolutely not, Riley. I won't look past his sins just because he's my son. You know what, Riley? Let's do this. I will uphold the deal on my end. I will disinherit him. You don't have to do it, Nick. I understand that he's your son. I won't be mad at you, I promise. Girl, you are just as much my child as Benji. You might be my daughter-in-law, but don't forget that I have always considered you to be my daughter. Hearing Nick say that brought tears to my eyes. After losing my family, I really did consider Nick to be my family as well. So when Nick told me that he sees me in the same way, it made me happy. Even if Benji abandoned and betrayed me, I still had Nick. Nick was adamant that he would make Benji pay for his sins. We didn't confront Benji that day. Both Nick and I had to make a lot of arrangements before confronting him. The first thing I did after returning home was to call a divorce lawyer. He's a friend of mine, so calling him late wasn't an issue. He heard everything and I sent him all the proof of Benji's cheating. He promised to prepare the divorce papers the next day. Nick also called his family lawyer and redrafted his will. Benji was, of course, having the time of his life with Sonia. He did call me twice a day to tell me that his father was not doing well and was still in the hospital. I didn't even care what he said anymore. I simply recorded the calls and sent them to my friend as evidence. Benji returned home a whopping 3 days after he left. He extended a day, seeing that I didn't suspect a thing. He was in for a big surprise when I would destroy his fake love for me. But he didn't see it coming. Benji assumed that everything was okay. With his bag still packed, I told him to sit down in the living room. I also told him that I was going to record our conversation for something important. Benji looked visibly frightened for a second before putting back his concerned face. He said, "What's the matter, Riley? You are scaring me with your seriousness. Tell me what's wrong." "Why don't you start by telling me where you were for the last 3 days? I would love to hear it from you in person." "I told you, Riley, Dad was sick, so I needed to take care of him. He was released just yesterday. I dropped him home, stayed the night, and came back today." "Oh, really, Benji? So why was he suddenly taken to the hospital? What did the doctors say?" "He was having chest pains and was feeling sick. The doctors wanted to monitor his blood pressure for a few days. He's fine now. You can call him and ask. He is at home." "I'm sure he is at home right now, but I don't think he went to the hospital after all." "What do you mean, Riley?" "Oh God, please don't tell me you're doubting me again. I'm sick and tired of being attacked even when I have been the perfect husband." "Don't make me laugh, Benji. The perfect husband won't go around sleeping with his best friend behind his wife's back. Does Sonia know you used your father as an excuse, or is she involved in the entire planning as well?" "Stop it, Riley. Don't talk about Sonia like that. You make her sound like a wicked homewrecker. It's shameful that you are suspecting your own husband like this. You have always been jealous of Sonia because she's beautiful. So you are finding ways to make our relationship inappropriate." Your manipulative tactics won't work anymore, Benji. Guess what? I went over our bank statements and found some interesting hotel bookings and plane tickets. I'm sure you already know whose names I found. What? I don't know what you're talking about. There must be some mistake. Maybe you're trying to set me up. You even accused me of using my sick father to hide my fake affair. This is shameful, Riley. I'm disappointed in you. Benji then went on to berate me and somehow turned this on me. While he was doing that, Nick walked in through the door. I had informed him about Benji's arrival when he texted me last night. When Nick walked in through the door, Benji took one look at him and went pale. He looked very panicked and started to sweat. He said, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing here? What a surprise, Dad. I thought you should be at home after getting so sick and all." Are you talking about the sickness you faked to go have an affair with Sonia? Yeah, I've recovered from that just fine, son. No thanks to you, of course. Dad, what are you talking about? I can't believe you'll say things like that. I'm not having an affair with Sonia. Is that so, Benji? Then why did you book tickets and hotel for the two of you? And why did you lie to Riley and tell her that you were with me at the hospital? Well, you see, it's just... Benji started to stutter, seeing that he had been cornered by us. He was thinking hard about how he could come up with more lies about his affair. He realized pretty quickly that he was getting caught in his own lies. I decided to make things easier for him. I said, "There's no need for you to make up lies, Benji. I was at Nick's place when you gave me the bullshit story of taking him to the hospital. He was sitting right across from me and hearing everything since I put you on loudspeaker." Yes, that's right. I heard everything, Benji. I heard how you used my sickness to hide your affair. I saw how you booked a nice vacation from your joint finances to spend quality time with your mistress. I really hope this trip was worth it, Benji. I have some good news for you, though. There is no reason for you to lie to me or cheat on me. I've already filed for divorce, and here are the papers. We can go to a lawyer or opt for mediation and settle things. After that, you're free to do what you want with Sonia. Oh, just remember that I will stop putting money into our joint account, so you're on your own. Okay, look, I confess that I went to stay with Sonia, but it was a one-time thing. You don't have to take such a drastic step for a one-time thing. A one-time thing, Benji? I have read your text with Sonia. I have seen how you have been with her even before we got married. It also didn't help that Sonia fed into my doubts by making me feel jealous. I must say, your affair partner gave me a great incentive to snoop. Riley, please don't do this. I promise I'll cut off all contact with Sonia. We can go to marriage counseling and make things better. We don't have to get a divorce. Dad, please help me convince Riley. Are you freaking kidding me, Nick? She has all the right to divorce you. You were just begging to get her back so that you can have fun on her dime. How dare you ask me for help? I will never help you with anything again. In fact, I have already disinherited you. Hearing this, Benji becomes even more apologetic. He started to beg us not to take away our financial support. Since he didn't work much and took care of Sonia as well, our money meant a lot to him. We should have cut him off sooner, but love is a stupid thing. Good thing that we have learned our lesson. Me and Nick would no longer be Benji's ATM. Since Benji wouldn't stop harassing us for forgiveness, we jointly kicked him out. The house was mine, and his bags were already packed, so it was super convenient for me. Benji left, but kept blowing up our phone with texts of apologies and forgiveness. We turned off our phones and discussed the next steps we would be taking against Benji. Nick has already sent the papers to disinherit Benji. He was leaving a part of his estate to a niece and the rest was left to me. He told me that since I was the one who truly cared about his health and didn't use it for my own benefit, I deserved this much from him. Besides, he thought of me as his own daughter and wanted to leave me something. I was crying tears of sadness and happiness after everything was over. Look, I won't say that I never felt sad about my marriage again. It was super hard to look past the good times and put on a brave face. However, I also knew that those good times were built on lies. What also helped was the fact that Sonia kept rubbing my face when Benji moved in with her. She texted me and said, "See, Riley, I have won. You have lost the love of your life to me. I had warned you that Benji would always be mine. You should have listened to me. Look how you're suffering right now." Suffering, Sonia? Don't delude yourself. I have been freed from taking care of a man-child who couldn't even earn enough to support himself. The sheer financial burden of staying with him was enough to ruin the joys of my marriage. I wish you well with the financial burden you just took in. He will never be a financial burden to me, Riley. Since you make more money than him, he will get alimony from you. Plus, he will get half of your house. That would be enough to make us have a good life. Sonia, are you that dense? Have you forgotten that we live in at-fault state? Even if we get divorced, Benji won't get a cent from me, since he cheated. And, by the way, the house is only in my name and belongs to me, so he won't get anything from that either. It finally dawned on Sonia that Benji would get absolutely nothing from me. And she also must have realized that she would have to get a job to support herself and Benji. Gone were the days when she didn't have to move a finger to provide for herself. Sleeping with Benji was enough to bring in good money for the month, but now she would have to work to feed herself. With zero qualifications and experience, she knew well enough what kind of job she would get. Realizing these things, Sonia went completely silent. I didn't have time for her anymore. I simply hung up the phone. In the next few months, a lot happened. Benji and I got divorced because, well, there was no way I was getting back with him. He chose mediation, and even the court representative hinted that he had no leg to stand on, so he was forced to sign the divorce papers. He did lose quite a bit of money in lawyer fees. That hit his wallet really hard since I was no longer supplementing his income. He kept having horrible fights with Sonia and called me with crying apologies. Apparently, even then, Sonia was refusing to get a job and help him out. Benji has almost zero savings, and Sonia refuses to cut back on their lifestyle. Their fights got so bad that he left her. That night, he showed up on my doorstep with his stuff in tow. He was begging me to take him back. He also kept blabbering about how he was sorry and he would make it up to me. I simply shut the door on his face. Benji also went to his father, who did the same thing. Since Nick's wife cheated on him too, he was a very low tolerance for cheaters. He was mad that his own son disrespected his teachings and decided to cheat on me. Benji was forced to take refuge with a friend who was the only one who was willing to help him. Everyone else abandoned him after the affair came to light. They are actually people of ethics who don't take cheating lightly. Benji's currently dodging Sonia, who's trying to get him back. I guess it finally dawned on her that her leeching ways would chase away the love of her life. Benji has no wish to get back with her and is struggling to get his life back on track. Meanwhile, I'm doing much better and going out on dates as well. I have met some great people and finally feel like I will also find my happiness like others. Hello, my name's Macy and I'm 30 years old. I'm here to talk about how I let go of my leeching in-laws and husband. Before I start talking about my crappy experience, let me introduce myself some more. I grew up in a low-income family. Most months we barely made it to the end. Sometimes we even had to starve. I had seen what poverty was like firsthand. It's not something I take very lightly. I know what real hunger pains feel like. I know what it's like to survive winters without heating. I didn't want to perpetuate the cycle of poverty that my family seemed to be going through, so I studied really hard. I was fortunate enough for my parents to be able to afford my education. There was not a single day that went by when I wasn't buried in my books. All of my days studying, I got a full ride at my dream college. While at college, I picked up various odd jobs to keep myself afloat. If I had any extra money, I would send it back home to my parents. It was in my junior year of college that I met my husband, Sam. At the time, I was working as a barista at a cafe that was pretty popular among the students of my college. One of my coworkers at the time was Sam. We were somehow always stuck with opening and closing duties together, so as we worked, we began making small talk with each other. Soon, it got to a point where I eagerly waited for my opening and closing shifts because I loved working with Sam. Sam felt that way too because he asked me out. I said yes, and we ended up going on our very first date to the amusement park. We started seeing each other seriously. We were pursuing different fields, but both graduated at the top of our classes. We got placements with these amazing firms. They were a great starting point for us. We moved in together 5 months after graduating. We worked at our first jobs for about another year. We didn't make amazing money, but we made enough to get us by. Now, here's where Sam and I did things differently. While Sam chose to continue working with his firm and wait for promotions, I quit mine and started working at a different place. I was immediately given a small pay raise with my new job, and I kept doing that for a couple of years before I was easily making twice Sam's salary. Sam had gotten a couple of raises, but that was about it. I had told him on multiple occasions to follow what I had done, but he said that it was too much work for him. Obviously, with this large gap in our incomes, Sam wanted to make some changes to how we manage household expenses. We had been splitting everything 50-50, but then Sam didn't want to do that anymore. I've been needing to talk to you about something. What is it, darling? I know we've been splitting all our bills and expenses 50-50, but you're making double what I'm making. I don't think that's fair to me. What do you mean it's not fair? I mean, I'm practically struggling by the end of the month while you have more than enough to get by. Okay, but I'm not spending it on me. I'm sending my parents money too. Yeah, but you still have a lot left, you know? Okay, and? That's hardly unfair. I worked hard to get where I'm at right now. I've asked you to do the same thing that I did. You know that it won't be easy for me to do what you did. Plus, it's so time-consuming. Obviously, you don't have to do the same exact things I did, but you've had so much experience at your company that you'll definitely find a better job with better pay. Hell, I'll even help you. That's not what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to ask you if we could split the expenses more fairly. What ratio do you want to split it in? 70-30. That's too much for me and barely anything for you. I'll go till 60-40. All right, I can work with that. I was really upset with the way Sam was seeing things. I mean, I know we worked in different fields, but his field worked similarly to mine. I hated how Sam didn't want to make an effort. But I let it go because I didn't think it was a hill worth dying on. Our relationship didn't have many issues after that. We worked with our new arrangement, and I did notice that Sam seemed a lot less stressed and a lot more happier. Even though I wasn't initially happy with the arrangement, seeing Sam look happier made me feel better. If there was one thing that I did a lot back then, it was bending over backward to make the people I loved happy, which, to be fair, bit me back in the worst way possible. About 2.5 years into dating, Sam proposed to me. I was overjoyed and excitedly said yes. Our wedding was a small and private event. Only our immediate family and our closest friends were present. It was the first time I met Sam's family. They lived in the state over. I never really got to meet them because I was too busy working and I never really had any real time off. My only time off was weekends. Holidays were the best time to make the most amount of money I could. Even after graduating, the new jobs kept me really busy. Sam would make frequent trips to visit home, and whenever they would ask for me, he would tell them I was busy. So the wedding was a great bonding moment for us. Since we cut down big time on the wedding costs, Sam decided that we should move into a different flat. I was skeptical about it. Sure, we had more than enough saved to make a down payment for a bigger and better place, but most of that saved money was mine. I told him so. Baby, I don't think splurging on an expensive apartment is a smart decision. But we have more than enough money for a down payment. Yes, but most of it's mine. Baby, we're getting married. There'll be no such thing as mine or yours. Oh, there definitely will be. We're signing a prenup, but that's only for people who are going to get a divorce. Do you think we won't last? No, it's nothing like that. It's just a smart and safe thing to do. So is not buying a huge apartment right now. Fine, I'll agree to the prenup, but I won't agree with not buying a new place. I mean, look at our place. It's tiny. What's the issue with that? Babe, sometimes my family would want to come over and spend time with us. I don't want them to spend time at a hotel. I still don't think that's a smart decision. You never listen to me. All you want is your way. Why are you even marrying me at this point? There's no need to get rude. I'm marrying you because I love you. Just because I don't agree with everything you say doesn't mean I love you less. Please, you'll appreciate it a lot in the future. Let's just get a new place. Fine, but the apartment will be in my name. I will not debate that. Fine. Our new place was a penthouse. It had 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 1 office. Thankfully, it was not in a very happening area, so it was very affordable. I had also gotten a huge promotion at work that month. I was promoted to head of my division. Sam and I celebrated big the night after I learned of my promotion, and it was the best night of my life. But then tragedy struck. First, Sam lost his job because he wasn't doing his job properly. I was upset, but I couldn't show it because I had to be supportive of Sam. He wallowed in his depression for a while. I mean, there was no need for him to work because I made more than enough for both of us, but still, I wanted Sam to contribute in some way, especially because we were planning on starting a family. If we were going to have kids, we were going to need a lot of money, but Sam never seemed to listen. I decided to just let him be for a while and try and push him to work in a couple of months. Then tragedy struck again. Sam's family, about 2 months after Sam lost his job, due to some faulty wiring, there was a fire at Sam's home. Thankfully, aside from some very small injuries, everyone was safe and fine. The house wasn't completely burnt down, but it would take another 8 to 9 months to get repaired fully. The news of the fire distressed Sam a lot. He didn't sleep the entire night and kept checking up with his parents and his younger siblings. They were staying in a motel for some time, but they obviously couldn't stay there until their house got renovated. So Sam approached me the next day. Babe, I have something kind of big to ask of you. Yes? I was wondering, do you think we could invite my parents to stay here with us until their house is renovated? They have no other place to go to, and they can't keep living in a motel. It's expensive and impractical, you know. Oh, of course, they're my family too. There's more than enough space here for them. Are you sure? Yeah, I could convert my office to a bedroom for your siblings, and your parents could take the guest bedroom. No, darling, I meant, are you sure you're okay with my parents staying here? Why would I not be okay with it? Because you know that they'll be staying here for the rest of the year, right? Yeah, and there's no problem with that. Thank you so much, darling. Shh, there's no need to thank me. A couple of days later, Sam's family moved in with us. I would love to say that it was easy living with them, but it wasn't. The first night they moved in, we had dinner together. After dinner, we sat together, drank a little wine, talked about ourselves for a while. I learned a lot more about Sam and his childhood at that point. Sam's mother, Sally, had managed to save some of her childhood albums of Sam's, and she showed them to me. We gushed over how cute Sam looked as a child. I got to learn about Sam's siblings a lot more too. His youngest brother was currently in his sophomore year of high school, while his younger sister was a senior in high school. Sally told me that they had Sam when they were really young. After a while of talking about themselves, the topic shifted to me. So, Macy, tell us more about yourself. Oh, I don't know what to say. Tell us about your childhood. Oh, there's not much to say. I didn't grow up with a lot of disposable income. I struggled really hard, but it was worth it because I'm living pretty comfortable today. Oh, is that why you're always working? Yeah. I'm glad you married our son then. I'm sure he'll provide everything you need. Oh, but I'm the one. Mom, did you show her that picture of me sitting in the driver's seat in Dad's old car? Oh, yeah. Look at how silly he looks here. I looked back at Sally and her album, but the back of my mind was reeling with confusion. What did she mean by Sam providing for me? Did she not know that I'm the one providing for both of us? Why had Sam just interrupted me when I was trying to tell Sally just that? I knew that I had to talk to him. I waited patiently until Sam's parents decided that it was time to head to bed. When we finally parted ways to go to our respective rooms, I kept trying to get Sam's attention so I could ask him about what had happened earlier. But he kept making excuses and avoiding me. Finally, when we settled into bed to fall asleep, I asked him about it. What was that about earlier? What do you mean? Babe, don't play dumb. Your mom said that you were the one providing for me. What was that all about? About that, I kind of didn't tell my parents I lost my job. Why? It's embarrassing. I didn't want them to know that their child was unemployed. Okay, but why do they think that you're the one providing for me? Why, is that a bad thing? No, I didn't mean it in a bad way. It's just that you've already lied about something, and I just want to know what else you've lied about so we can keep up with it. Oh, sorry. Well, I also told them that I'm working from home and that I'm the one earning more. Let me guess. Because it would be embarrassing if I made more than you. Yeah, I don't like this. But I love you, so I'll let it go. Thanks, babe. You're the best. If I'm being completely honest, I hated what Sam had done. I worked hard to get to where I was. He knew that. In fact, he was there for a good portion of it, and still he took it all away. But at the same time, I understood the importance of wanting your parents to think that you're doing well. Basically, I hated it, but I understood it. The first week his family stayed with us, everything was pretty good. But then their true colors came out. They left messes everywhere, and neither of them ever volunteered to clean up, even after I had expressed how I wanted them to clean up after themselves. After a while of this, I gave up on asking them. I either took care of the messes myself, or I just let it be. Then it got worse. In the first month they were there, Sam's parents contributed to the utilities. The second month they stopped. Honestly, I was fine with it, even though I was a little upset. What I was not okay with was Sally accompanying me or Sam on our grocery trips and picking out the most expensive things and expecting us to buy them. On top of all that, they ran up our electricity and water bills like crazy. I sat down one night and just reviewed how much we had spent that month, and to my horror, I realized we had spent 5 times what we usually spend. So the next day, while we were all eating lunch together, I brought it up with Sam's parents. I don't know how to bring this up without making things awkward, but respectfully, in the nicest way possible, I need to ask you guys to cut down on the spending. What do you mean? I mean, you guys buy a lot of expensive stuff at our expense, and you guys have run up our water and electricity bills by a lot too. You don't get to tell us what to do. Oh, no? I don't mean it in any rude way. It's just our expenses this month have been 5 times what we usually spend. If you could contribute a little, I wouldn't mind continuing to live this way. Contribute? This is my son's money we're spending. If he doesn't have an issue with it, you have nothing to say. Babe, that's enough. I was furious. I knew she was my mother-in-law, but she was staying in my house. She did not get to speak to me that way. I politely asked her to curb her spending, and she was so rude. And to make matters worse, Sam hadn't even backed me up. Hell, I wouldn't have minded if he kept his mouth shut. But he took his mother's side, and I did not like that one bit. I went to bed furious. I didn't speak to Sam or his family. The next morning, I got up and went to work. I came back, and Sam was waiting for me in the room. He began yelling at me for confronting his parents like that. I told him to keep his mouth shut because he was the worst of them all. He had no say in anything, and I was going to make sure it stayed that way. Sam tried to tell me that his parents had gone through so much and asked me to just humor them for a little while, and I told him that if he wanted to humor them, he could do it at his own expense. I reminded him whose house they were living in. I told him that if they kept this behavior up, I would throw all of them out, including him, without an ounce of remorse. Sam didn't talk much to me after that for a week. Sam's family's behavior only got worse. They got increasingly invasive. They rarely allowed my privacy. If I was reading a book in my room, one of Sam's siblings would come in and sit next to me. If I was cooking food, Sally would walk in and tamper with my food so it would fit the family's tastes. If I was working out at the complex's gym, Sam's father would be there. I had no space for myself. Initially, all of this was okay, but when you start to feel like your space is no longer yours, it's painful. I found myself spiraling into depression, and Sam just never seemed to care. He was just happy to keep the pretense going at my expense. Literally. The final nail in the coffin was when I returned home from work really late. I was exhausted, and all I wanted to do was take a long, warm bath, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I didn't want to talk to or interact with anyone, so imagine my irritation when I walked into my house and heard loud laughs from a lot of women coming from my dining room. I walked over to the dining room to see what was going on and saw Sally surrounded by a bunch of women. I coughed to draw attention to me and politely asked Sally what this was all about. Sally perked up when she saw me and walked around the table to stand next to me. She then introduced me to her friends. Everyone, this is my lovely daughter-in-law. Hi, everyone. Oh, wow, she's really pretty. Yeah, thank God she has her looks. My son did her a favor by marrying her. Excuse me? She used to be so poor. If it wasn't for my amazing son, she'd probably be on the streets. No, I wouldn't. You know what? I'm sick and tired of all of you. Macy, calm down. What are you talking about? I'm not the poor one. Your stupid son is. I'm the breadwinner of this family, and every single one of you are a bunch of freeloaders. Macy! I've had enough of your family's rude and disrespectful behavior. Not once have you expressed any gratitude that I've shown. Not once have you lent me a helping hand around the house. Not once have you paid for anything. All you did was spend a fortune that was mine. Oh, please, even if you are the breadwinner right now, this house is in my son's name. So how we live here isn't a problem. We'll stop the overspending, but we'll live here on our own terms. My God, what has your son not lied to you about? This house is in my name. I'm the one that paid the most of it. I'm the one still paying it off because your no-good son is unemployed. Oh my God. You know what? I'm done. I want you guys out, and I mean all of you, including Sam, by the end of this month. I'll send you an official notice by the day after. I don't care if you guys are left on the streets, but I deserve better than this. I left my place and went to stay with one of my friends. I was so drained from my emotional outburst, I didn't realize how much anger I had in me until that moment. It felt good to get it all out. An hour later, my phone was blowing up with calls and messages from Sam and his parents. Sam was angry with me for revealing everything to his parents, while Sally was mad at me for humiliating her in front of her friends. Sam's dad was the only one actually begging me to let them stay there. I felt so many emotions that I decided to just not dwell on them. There was only one thing I wanted, and that was freedom. Freedom from my in-laws and my lying husband. I had the notice written up the next day. I had also filed for divorce and got the papers ready. The day after that, I went over to deliver the papers to Sam's family. Initially, Sally and Sam started yelling at me. Sam then changed his tune and asked me not to leave him, but I was so numb from the past few months of torture, disrespect, and lies that I didn't bat an eye at his tears. I felt a little bad when Sam's dad and siblings asked me to let them stay, so I told them they either had to pay rent at the market price or get out. The rent for such a large apartment was obviously a lot and out of their budget. They ended up moving out. Sam knew better than to contest the divorce, because if he did, I would have found a way for him to pay me back everything he owed me. I was sad that my wonderful relationship had come to this, but at the same time, I'm finally independent and able to take pride in my accomplishments. I realized that I'm never going to bend over backwards for anyone, no matter how much I love them. I'm never going to let anyone use me ever again, and I think that's something everyone can take away from this. Remember to always live your best life and always be true to yourself. That's the one thing that makes life worth living. Thank you for listening.